Saquon Barkley sat down with Complex Sports, and he talked about his future with the New York Giants, as he is set to be a free agent, with the Giants still having the ability to place the franchise tag on him. And really, I thought he had some interesting words, and he talked about for the first time that he could see himself playing in another NFL team's jersey. We'll break down that really talk from Complex Sports, and I'll give you some Saquon Barkley replacements later in the video if the Giants do not re-sign him or put the franchise tag on him. But before we do, I'm starting my Instagram up. I'm trying to get my IG game up. I'm posting about the Giants and the New York Knicks every single day, and I want you guys to follow me over there. So if you're looking for another way to stay up to date on everything Big Blue as well as the New York Knicks, give me a follow on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. Alrighty, for the first time in really 2 years now, it seems like, I think Saquon Barkley may be gone, or at least I'm starting to get that feeling that Barkley may not, maybe even want to be here, or maybe he just may not be here coming in this offseason. This is what he said to Complex Sports. Quote, it never crossed my mind until last year after I got tagged, response to if he thinks he could play somewhere else. Up until that moment, I really believed that I was going to finish my career as a New York Giant. You know, that was a goal of mine, and that's still in play. I have so much respect for the Mara family and the Tisch family and everyone in the Giants organization. They know that. But once you get to this point, you go to your contract negotiation and you go through the tag process, you realize how much of a business it is. And I remember the vets always telling me this. And I believe them. But you don't really know something until you go through it. So could I see myself in another uniform? Yeah, it's possible. And I just want to go right into that. Not if we think Saquon's good, none of that. Let's just go right into this. How would you feel about Saquon Barkley playing for the Dallas Cowboys? How would you feel about Saquon Barkley playing for any team in the NFL? How would you feel about him helping a team like the Buffalo Bills get over the top in the AFC? And I remember once that my good friend Matthew Peterson here at Chat Sports told me, you ask yourself that question. And if your answer is you feel sick about it, you need to bring that player back. If you're okay with seeing him in another jersey, you can let him go. And I'm just not ready for that to happen. He also said this, quote, it's rare for a guy to be on one team his whole career. But what I love to be in the likes of Eli Manning, Michael Strahan, and Tiki Barber. Yeah, but at the same time, I'm not naive, and I'm not a fool anymore. I'm at ease that whatever happens, I would love for it to be done. But if it can't, and I'm able to move on, I would love to go to a team where I can help them win the Super Bowl for sure. That last line hurt a little bit. Kind of felt like a little bit of a gut punch. I mean, you see maybe your old girl with somebody new and you're like, dang, maybe I made the wrong decision. Saquon Barkley helping another team in this league hoist the Lombardi trophy, that would make me sick. And I don't blame Saquon at all for how he feels. It's a business, and business is business. It is strictly financial. And if your employer is not valuing you at where you think you are valued as a human and as someone that's always trying to achieve the best, you should go see what the market is out there for yourself. Thing is, the Giants can really limit Saquon Barkley from letting him see what his market is, because the NFL has granted each team a tool, the franchise tag. And I think that is what the Giants should place on Saquon Barkley. I also don't think that they should let him walk for nothing. We'll talk about that in a second, but first I want to hear from you. Predict this for me. Let me know what you think. Will Saquon Barkley be a New York Giant next season? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know what you think. When it comes to Saquon Barkley, you can't just let him walk, right? Like, you can't just let him enter free agency without the franchise tag going on him and let him negotiate with teams like the Bears and the Bills and the Chiefs and the Cowboys and all these teams that are in the Houston Texans that are already being linked to him. You cannot let Saquon Barkley walk. And for that reason, that is why I believe placing the franchise tag on him is the most likely outcome. Joe Schoen is a smart guy. Brian Daboll is a smart guy. And it doesn't really take that smart of a guy to realize how good Saquon Barkley is. The question is, how much percentage of the salary cap do you want to pay to a running back that is creeping closer and closer to the age of 30? This is what I would do if I was the GM. You have two options. Joe Schoen, listen up. Option one, franchise tag him, $12.4 million. If he's unwilling to play on the franchise tag, he becomes a disruption, which he's not. He's a leader, he's a captain, and he bleeds Giants blue, and he does everything the right way. I think he'd play on the franchise tag again, and I hate that I'm having to kind of use that in spite of his loyalty. But option number 2, give him a 2-year deal. We're $25 million with $15 million guaranteed. That's pretty much the franchise tag for 2 years in a row. But give him a little bit more guaranteed money. The Giants can work with that contract. It doesn't prohibit them in the future from anything, and it keeps that best player on the market. Thing is, Saquon Barkley, it takes 2 to tango. And you can tell me that you want to retire a Giant. Once a Giant, always a Giant, only a Giant. You can say all that. But you can't stand on that if you aren't willing to sacrifice. Any relationship takes sacrificing. And maybe the Giants are willing to sacrifice a little bit. And maybe you are. And we can get this done. But it's going to take both parties to get it done. Pro Football Focus has this as Saquon Barkley's contract projection. 2 years, $22 million, $15 million guaranteed. So pretty much the same exact contract that I've been talking about for over a month on this show. Their actual total money is a little bit lower than what I had it at. I had it at 25. They had it at 22. I know this, though. If Saquon Barkley signs with the Giants, if they put the franchise tag on him, they trade him, they let him enter free agency, we're going to be breaking it down on this channel. So subscribe to New York Giants now for free, informative, entertaining, passion-driven content all offseason long. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at some potential Saquon Barkley replacements. We'll look at NFL free agency, and then we will look at the NFL draft. Because, look, Barkley sounds like he may be moving on. I'm not ready to see him play for another team. He needs to be back in Big Blue next year. But first, I got to give a huge shout-out to our sponsor, Game Time. Download the Game Time app, and if you use the promo code Vegas100, you're going to get $100 off the big game in Vegas. Vegas 100. Get $100 off. You could also use promo code GiantsChat, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Game Time is awesome. You get the best seats for the lowest price guaranteed. It's the easiest way to buy tickets, and in my opinion, it's the most fair way to buy tickets. The prices of the events drop as the events get closer, so if you're a procrastinator like me, Game Time will be awesome for you. Download the Game Time app. Just go into the App Store. Use the promo code Vegas100 for $100 off the big game, and also Giants Chat to get $20 off. Alrighty, let's dive into it to close today's show. Saquon Barkley replacements. Look, I don't want any of this to be true. I don't want to have to replace Saquon Barkley. Quite frankly, you cannot replace Saquon Barkley. He is that special. But on the other side of the door, there is a reality where the Giants just might have to do so. So who could they look at? Well, the first option will be Eric Gray. Internal option number 1, the rookie running back, now sophomore running back out of Oklahoma. I believe in Eric Gray as the player, but I don't think he could be a featured back in an offense. I think he is a supplemental type of player. I think he can help you. I think he has talent. He showed it in college, and he showed a little bit of burst in a couple of the games late in the New York Giants season. But he's not the bell cow, and he's not ready to be an RB1 just yet. So maybe you look to free agency, right? Maybe you're like, all right, Barkley's gone. Maybe we got to go sign somebody. Here are the top free agent running backs: Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard, Austin Ekeler, DeAndre Swift, Devin Singletary, A.J. Dillon, and Zack Moss. I'm not interested in Josh Jacobs. I'm not interested in Derrick Henry. Not really interested in Tony Pollard. Maybe Austin Ekeler on a cheap deal, but what is he looking to make? He's always talking about getting more money. DeAndre Swift, if you want to come play on a 1-year deal, sure. A.J. Dillon, I like the way he runs downhill, but he's running into some injury issues. What about Zack Moss and Devin Singletary? Are they the best backs on this list? No. But they are running backs that have played for the Buffalo Bills. They have relationships with Joe Schoen. They have relationships with Brian Dable. And they're two guys that I think the Giants could look at. Let's talk about Zack Moss. What type of running back is he? He's a guy that has speed. Man, he can get to the outside. His agility is underrated. He can run through arm tackles, but he's more of your scat back, I would say. He's also decent in the receiving game. Whereas Devin Singletary is the guy that he hits the hole, or he sees the hole, he hits the hole, and he gets going downhill. Also an underrated receiving back as well. I wouldn't mind signing any of these players. I really liked what Singletary did with the Texans this year as kind of their featured back. I know 4.2 yards per carry is not all that high, but the prior 3 years was over 4.4, which is above league average. And the Giants could be looking to add a running back if Barkley's gone, and I'm sure they'll look at these two guys that they have relationships with. So if you had to choose one of them to sign, who would you rather be a Giant? Is it Zack Moss? Is it Devin Singletary? I'd probably roll with Singletary because I actually think it'd be a good complement of Singletary and Eric Gray. But I want to hear from you. Type the initials of the guy you want to see wearing a New York Giants helmet next year. To be honest with you, I'm looking to draft a running back. I'm looking at the NFL draft. I'm not really a believer that you pay running backs in free agency. Both of those guys did have cheap contracts, according to Pro Football Focus. For Zack Moss, they project a 3-year deal worth $8.5 million guaranteed and $12.75 million total, while Devin Singletary is a 2-year, $7.5 million deal with $5 million guaranteed. I'd be cool with paying that, but not much more. What about the NFL draft? Jonathan Brooks out of the University of Texas. He is having to battle back from that torn ACL, but this guy runs downhill, man. He runs through arm tackles. He's a physical runner. I feel like he seeks out contact, and he gets those tough and those dirty yards. On a 2nd and 7, can he make it a 3rd and 1 opportunity? I like him. Probably going to be the first back coming off the board if he can continue to rehab. Trey Benson is a special, special back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a fan of his. This guy can go the distance anytime he touches it. And what is underrated about him is not just that he's a speedster, not just that he can hit the edge and go. 6'1", 223 pounds. He is built like an NFL running back. He is tough to tackle. He runs through arm tackles. He's a guy that I would love to see in this offense. I'm also personally just a fan of Blake Corum. 5'8", 213 pounds. That dude plays with swag. That dude plays with heart. His feet don't stop moving. Maybe small at 5'8", but, man, he is a menace with the ball in his hands, and it's pretty much a primary reason as to why Michigan was national champions. He's really good, and I'd be a very big fan of the pick if that was made. Two other types of running backs that are a little bit different than the first three we talked about. Bucky Irving. This guy is the definition of a scat back. Can be involved in the screen game. He can be involved in taking it from the 20 to the 10. He is electric. He can go. And I also like Ray Davis out of Kentucky. Bucky Irving and Ray Davis are very similar, in my opinion. They are home run hitters at that position. And I would love to see them in a Brian Dable or potentially a Mike Kafka offense or Shea Tierney, whoever is the next new OC. But I like the idea of attacking the draft at the running back position. Cost controlled for the next 4 to 5 years instead of paying a guy that already has a lot of tread on the tire. We talked about 5 running backs. Five draft running backs, 8 free agent running backs. But I want to hear from you. Name a running back you want the Giants to draft. Give me some names. I'll do some more homework on them. Those 5 guys we talked about, though, those are my top 5 backs in this draft. As always, just want to say thank you and appreciate you for tuning in to Giants Now by Chat Sports. If you haven't yet, hit that thumbs up icon and subscribe to the channel. Free, informative, entertaining Giants content all off season long.